Champ now.
Yes, I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, Champ?
I'm surprised at you. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right what you just said.
What do you mean? What I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, done one time during my career, I went on a Bomber 1 tour.
Bomber, I would have been a bomb compared to you.
Well, you'll be on the tour.
What's happening, my people? It's Cass Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. Now, as usual, before we get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people who just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to be a content creator. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. Miss Cass, hashtag JBT. VVO Boxing TV, hashtag STN from the Sports Talk Network. Mike Rem, Mike Mazik. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, The Box Storian. Today, 50 of the most influential people in boxing history. And you know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's The Box Storian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. How's everyone today? We are right back at the beginning of another big week of boxing history. Hardcore Boxing News, hashtag JBT. Salute J Hardcore. How are you today? 50 of the most significant people in boxing history today. Right back at the beginning of another big week of boxing history. Everybody like those fights this weekend? Boxing has been treating us good so far this year. We got a good one today. We're going to look at, we did this show similar last year. We're going to review 50 of the most influential people in boxing history today. 50 all the way down to 1. Like those two gentlemen on the screen, 2 of the most influential people in boxing history. Love them or hate them, Bob Father and Don King. Have brought us some great fights over the years. Still bringing us great fights, as a matter of fact. 93 years young, both of them. I think Don King will be 94 in August, and the Bob Father will be 94 in December. Ain't that something? It's a few months apart. Yeah, BBO said Joe could have beat the life out of Clay. Yeah. I don't know, BBO, because Billy Conn was outboxing Joe Louis before he got stupid and stood in front of him and got knocked out. So I don't know. I think Ali might outbox him. So you saw that interview before, BBO. That was a good one. Yeah, I saw that whole thing. Yeah. Joe said Ali would be on that bum of the month list. But salute to everybody that's in the building so far. Appreciate you stopping by. Let's get into the highlights of boxing history. Our little segment we do from 2 to 2:30 every day. Today, highlights of boxing history is damn, I forgot. Let me turn back. Oh, there it is. We got 14 boxing siblings. You know, we got a couple of brother-sister combinations. We got a couple of 3 boxing siblings. Even got a 5 boxing siblings we're going to talk about. But we're going to talk about 14 boxing siblings today. You know, like the Charlo twins, the Inues, the Furies, Tyson and Tommy. So let's get into that. Talk about some boxing siblings to start this thing off today. But how was everybody's weekend? I know one thing is over, but I'm on permanent weekend. My weekend is still going on. I'll see y'all when y'all get back to the next one Friday. Okay? But I'm enjoying my weekend. Permanent weekend status. Okay, let's talk about these boxing siblings for the highlight of boxing history today. Okay? Jarrell Hattie in the building. Salute Jarrell. The legendary Thomas Hill in the building. What's up, T Hill? Oh man, I hate when that happens. Dropped my pen in the floor. My bad, there it is. Okay, I'm back. Salute Jarrell Hattie, Thomas Hill in the building. Okay, I don't see Kensaw Love 1 yet. Jarrell, you left Kensaw Love 1 behind today. And T Hill, salute. Okay, let's look at some of these boxing siblings to start this big week of boxing history off. Got a big week coming up for you too. Tennessee is going to be the Boxing in the States Thursday, and the profile this Friday is going to be Sugar Shane Mosley, the life and career of Sugar Shane. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to look at some boxing siblings to start the thing off today. Okay. First is going to be the Charlo twins. Okay. Jermell and Jamal Charlo, right? Now, Jermell has been a world super welterweight champion on and off since 2018, while his twin brother Jamal is a former super welterweight champion and a former middleweight champion, who now Jamal now operates at middleweight. when he's fighting. Whereas he had the WBC title. Now Jermell has fought and lost against Canelo Alvarez, and no doubt Jamal would in the future like to fight Canelo and try to do what his brother couldn't do, right? Let's beat Canelo. Just a little brief thing on these siblings. Next, the Inoues, Naoya and Takuma Inoue, along with Shinto, their father, who trains both of the brothers. There's Kensaw Love One. I knew Kensaw Love One was coming, and coming with color. Salute Kensaw Love One. Kensaw Love One always come into the building and bring color. Appreciate Kensaw Love One 100,000,000%. Knew Kensaw Love One was coming with the color. Appreciate you, Kensaw Love One. That's my live studio audience, but none of them hit the like button. I'm gonna stop letting them in here. If half of them hit the like, I'd be in good shape. Yeah, Jay Hardcore is on the permanent part of the permanent weekend crew too. Yep. Okay, the Inoue's sibling boxers, and their father trains them. Shinto, he's in there with them. The Monster and Takuma. Now, Naoya holds all the belts at Super Bantamweight 122 and is widely considered one of the hardest punchers on the planet. While his little brother Takuma, who boxes in a very different style than Naoya, Takuma picked up the WBA Bantamweight strap when Naoya vacated, but he hit with an impressive one-punch knockout over German Alcahars. But he has since lost the belt, okay? And they fought on the same card a few times, I think. But the Inoues, Liam and Callum Smith. I got the other two brothers who used to be in there with them, Stephen and Paul. There's all four of the Smith brothers, right? But I think Liam and Callum are the only two still active. Now, Liam and Callum Smith. That's Liam on the left, and the tall one is Callum. Other two are Stephen and Paul. I don't know which is which, Stephen and Paul. Now, once part of a foursome, which included Paul and Stephen, Callum and Liam Smith now represent the Smith family as a duo. Now, Callum, a light heavyweight, was formerly the WBA super middleweight champion, while Liam, who split 2 fights with Chris Eubank Jr. in recent years, he had the WBO belt at super welterweight. The Smith brothers. Some other siblings. How about the Maloney twins? They twins, right? The Maloneys. Yeah, believe so. There you go. The Maloney twins, Jason and Andrew. What's up? The Boxing Mania Podcast Plus. What's up, the Boxing Mania Podcast Plus? How are you today? Yeah, I know we also subscribe to these channels like Hardcore, J Hardcore, Boxing Mania Podcast Plus. But anybody that isn't, get over there and subscribe. But I know all of us is, yeah. But anybody out there listening, get over there and subscribe to Hardcore Boxing News and the Boxing Mania Podcast Plus. Great channels. J Hardcore is the proprietor of the Hangout. 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. 9 a.m. on Sunday. Open it back up Sunday nights at 8 o'clock. For the Old Timers Show. Jason and Andrew Maloney. Yeah, twin Australians. Jason and Andrew Maloney have been involved in numerous big fights in the lower weight classes. Now, Andrew has so far managed to grab a WBA regular super flyweight title, whereas Jason won the WBO bantamweight crown. Okay? The Maloney twins. Tyson and Tommy Fury. We just talking about some sibling boxers for our highlights of boxing history today. There's Tyson and Tommy Fury. Tommy's most famous fight was against the YouTuber Jake Paul. Okay, glad he won it. But then Jake beat Mike Tyson. But that was just, I don't know, that wasn't Mike Tyson he beat. That was some old man. Now, half brothers, they share the same father, John Fury, right? Half brothers, Tyson and Tommy Fury, have gone about their pro careers in very different ways. Now, Tyson, the heavyweight, has fought some of the biggest names in his division on his way to the top of the heavyweight division, where he once was, right? Whereas Tommy, a light heavyweight, in recent times, focused more on boxing and YouTube influencers to increase his profile. Okay? The Zoos. Tim Zoo got a brother, boxer. Tim and Nikita Zoo. Here they are. I didn't know that until this morning. Yeah. Appreciate you, Boxing Menu Podcast, for your support, my brother. Always support. Yeah, Tim and Nikita Zoo. I didn't know he had a brother to box until this morning. Now, seemingly on the cusp of a fight against Terrence Crawford, former WBO super welterweight champion Tim Zoo saw his O disappear, taken by Sebastian Fundora. Remember that? Last year. Now, Nikita, meanwhile, is 8-0 and was last seen beating Dylan Biggs to become the Australian super welterweight champion. The Zoo brothers. Then we got the Edwards, Charlie and Sonny Edwards. Right? No, those are the Maloneys. My bad. There's Charlie and Sonny Edwards right there. I think Sonny has retired. Okay. But Charlie and Sonny Edwards, just talking about some sibling boxers. Charlie won the WBC flyweight title in 2018, beating Christopher Gonzalez in a career best performance before his younger brother, Sonny, followed suit in 2021, taking Morutu Matalene's IBF flyweight belt via 12-round decision. That man's name ain't nothing like that, but I'm not even close, but you know. MM, that's it. Sonny took MM's title, but he since lost that to Jesse Bam. And I believe Sonny is retired now, commentating over there in the UK. Talking all this bias stuff. You know, you looking at the fight and like, what in the hell is Sonny talking about? He's saying, you think you're on the wrong channel. He's saying stuff that you don't, it's not even happening in the ring. You know, they got their talking points and they have to talk up the fighter. It's in the paperwork that they get, you know, from the network. That's how Andre Ward got fired, remember? Andre said, I'm not saying that stuff. He said, you got to go. Now, Big Waterhead Tim Bradley is a company man. He'll say anything they put in there. You know? Tim even invent stuff. But let's continue. I was putting this guy's name in here. I want to tell y'all why I couldn't pronounce it. This is the guy that Sonny Edwards took the title from right there. There he is. Methadone. Okay. Next, we got a couple more siblings. Then we're going to get to some of these 50 greatest figures in boxing. Most influential figures in boxing history. We got a brother-sister combination coming up next. Daniel and Caroline Dubois. There you go. Daniel and Caroline. Daniel look like, man, he'll kill you over his little sister. Don't he? His little sister come home and said, so did this to me, Daniel. Daniel go and find that guy. He love his little sister. He got her back. Daniel and Caroline Dubois, one of the brothers and sister combinations. We got another one on here too on the list. Daniel and Caroline Dubois. Daniel is, you have both a heavyweight champion in the men's game, IBF, and a lightweight champion in the women's game. I think she got the WBA lightweight. At 27 and 24 respectively, they also have time on their hands. Daniel's 27, Caroline's 24. Then we got Kubrat and Tervel Pulev. They old. I don't even know if they still fighting, but they up there. Kubrat and Tervel Pulev. At the other end of the spectrum, you have Kubrat and Tervel Pulev, two Bulgarians in the Indian summer of their respective careers. Kubrat is now 43. He's a former European champion who has unsuccessfully challenged for the world heavyweight title a couple of times, while 42-year-old Tervel is a cruiserweight. He's won 18 of 19 pro fights and is best known for losing against Sergey Kovalev in 2022. Kovalev was still fighting in 2010. See, a lot of these people, I didn't know Adam Azim had a brother. I knew about Adam, but Hassan and Adam Azim. Never heard of Hassan. There's Adam on the left. I never heard of Hassan. But yeah, he got a brother to fight too. Yeah. Hassan and Adam Azim, they're relatively fresh on the scene. Hassan and Adam have a combined pro record of 21-0. Adam is 13-0. He's already won and vacated the European title, but Hassan, who is 8-0 and whose progress has been steadier, still awaits his first title opportunity. We got a couple more. Then we're going to get on to these influential figures. Got a good one for you today. Stick around. Guarantee y'all will enjoy the show today. Okay, next, we got another brother-sister combination. Sebastian and Gabriela Fundora, right? Sebastian and Gabriela Fundora, a brother and sister duo who have achieved significant success, with Sebastian holding titles at junior middleweight, and Gabriela is the undisputed world champion at flyweight. Okay? Next we got DB3. Talking about some sibling boxers. DB3. There you go. DB3. The Davis brothers. DB3. Calvin, Keyshawn, and Keon Davis, known as DB3, are three brothers who have found success in the sport of boxing, with all three fighting and winning on the same card in their hometown of Norfolk, Virginia last year. Keyshawn is leading the way for the family, winning the WBO lightweight title last month in just his 13th professional fight. DB3, okay? Then we got, I guess, TM5, the Masons. The Mason brothers. 5 of them. Come on, Masons. There you go. The Mason brothers. Amir, Adel, Abdur Rahim, Abdullah, and Ibrahim. These 5 brothers are from Cleveland, with Abdullah being the biggest name, but his 4 brothers are also talented, and you're probably going to hear from them in the very near future, okay? And finally, sibling boxers, the Vargas brothers. There they go along with Fernando Sr., the father. Next second from the right. The Vargas brothers, Emiliano, Amado, and Fernando Jr., all professional boxers whose father had a brilliant career in the ring, and the 3 brothers are attempting to build on their family name in the sport. Yeah, and no doubt you're going to hear from them too. Emiliano fought this weekend, didn't he? Yeah, on the Mayor Ryan card. He sure did. Yep, Emiliano was in there this weekend. Okay, let's get to the show. Oh, we got 5 minutes. It's bad luck to start before 2:30. But yeah, great fights this weekend. Appreciate everybody in the building. Did anybody come in? Yeah, okay, let's see what's going on in the chat. Thomas Hill says, what about the Muratalla? Yeah, and Garcia brothers. I couldn't get all of them yet. Honorable mention, the Muratalla brothers and the Garcia brothers. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right, T Hill. I was trying to squeeze it in before 2:30, but I could have got a couple more in there, couldn't I? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to be talking about 50 of the most influential figures in boxing history today. We done went over this last year. It's like a review today. Y'all don't mind it. Y'all don't want to review it, just put it in the chat and then we'll do something else today. Okay. Oh, I don't see nothing. So okay, we good. Okay, yeah. And those two on the screen, well, not those two. Not those four. I was talking about these two right here are definitely two of the most significant figures in boxing history. Still making fights. 93 years young, like I told you. Isn't that something? Same exact age, man. I think Don King's birthday is in August and the Barfather's in December. Isn't that something? Both of those old fossils the same age, have been going on for years. Still going strong. Barfather just had a fire card this past weekend. As a matter of fact, that was a Bob Arum joint Saturday, the Michaela Mayer, Sandy Ryan one. Highlighted some of those great young fighters he got over there at Top Rank. Yeah. Great card. What's happening this weekend? As a matter of fact, I think it's we got something good coming up. We got 3 minutes. Yeah, we got something good coming up this weekend. Let me check it out right quick. How's everybody's day going? It was like 80 degrees up here in Baltimore today. I'm out there shirt sleeves, man. Short sleeves, yeah. Beautiful. It's springtime. 2 o'clock. Life is good. Because you know what happened at 2 o'clock? You know, if it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Story bringing you all that boxing history. Okay, let me look at the schedule real quick for this week. What is next week in the we're in May now. Like the 6th, something like that. Saturday. No, March, April. Yeah. April. March 30th. It was a fight yesterday. Wow. In Jerusalem. Wow. No, Melbourne, Jerusalem. It was in Japan. But we try to see what's happening next weekend. April 5th. Is that Saturday? Richard Torres Jr., Guido Vianello is on the card. Saturday. We got one from Kazakhstan. Janabek back in action. Okay. We're in good shape. Got one from England. Oh, the juggernaut. Joe Joyce. Oh my goodness. Joe Joyce and Philip Hergovic Saturday, y'all. Joe Joyce and Philip Hergovic Saturday. From Manchester, England. Okay, we got 3 cards Saturday. The juggernaut. Okay, got one Sunday from Australia. Tim Tszyu. We just got finished talking about Tim and his brother. Tim Tszyu back in action. Joseph Spencer Jr. Saturday from Australia. It's got the 6th, but it'll be the 6th in Australia. It'll still be the 5th here. You know, that's on the bottom of the globe, Australia. You know. Okay, let's go with today's show. It's 2:30. Okay. It used to be my nickname at work. I used to get off at 2:30 one time, and that's all I talked about all day was 2:30. So they start calling me 2:30. But let's go with today's show. We got 50 of the most influential people in boxing history today. Okay. That's Tex Rickard, the first known promoter of note right? He was the first known promoter, but had to be promoters before him because it was fights before him, and somebody had to set him up, right? So yeah, he was the first big-time promoter. Now, Tex Rickard was the first great boxing promoter, setting the standard for all those who have come since. He realized the potential for making huge amounts of money from boxing by turning boxers into heroes or villains on the big screen, so as to appeal to a wider casual audience rather than just the diehard fans and those who wanted to see a violent spectacle. Now, fights would be filmed and then displayed in theaters around the country. Now, as well as this, he created the storylines so familiar to boxing fans around the world to make his fighters human and relatable or hateable, respectively. It was Tex Rickard who made boxing greats like Jess Willard, Jack Dempsey, and Gene Tunney household names. He made those fighters into household names, back in the 20s, way back there. It's Jack Johnson and James J. Jeffries right there. We talked about that last week. Ace in the building. What's up, Ace? Good to see you today. Salute. Ace came to our meet and greet. Got a picture with Ace too. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Tex Rickard made those guys into household names. Jack Dempsey, Gene Tunney, Jess Willard. Those were huge names back in that period in the 20s. And Tex also promoted the first fight at Yankee Stadium and filed the incorporation papers for Madison Square Garden, New York's boxing mecca, that we all know and admire as a historic landmark in the boxing world, the Garden. Now, here's a list of some of Tex Rickard's other achievements, okay? He promoted Joe Gans versus Battling Nelson in 1906, set a record gate of $69,715. Then he promoted Jess Willard versus Frank Moran, 1916, set a new record gate, $152,000. And this is back in the 1920s, right? Astronomical numbers for that period. He promoted Jess Willard versus Jack Dempsey, 1919, set another record gate, $452,000. Jack Dempsey versus George Carpenter, 1921, a record crowd of 90,000 people showed up. And another record gate, $1.7 million for the first $1 million gate in boxing history in 1921, excuse me. $1.7 million gate, first $1 million gate, right? He promoted the first boxing card at Yankee Stadium in 1923. Had a record crowd of 60,000 people. That was a record for attendance in New York State at the time. Jack Dempsey versus Louis Angel Firpo in 1923 was another $1 million gate, second ever $1 million gate in boxing. Jack Dempsey versus Gene Tunney won in 1926. Set a world record crowd for a boxing match. 135,000 people attended, and a record gate of $1.8 million. Okay. Jack Dempsey versus Gene Tunney 2 in 1927. That was the first $2 million purse. Yep. Tex Rickard was the Dana White of his day, taking a sport that was frowned on and viewed as barbaric and turning it into a mega sport with stars who walked the red carpet alongside the greatest celebrities of the period, right? Now, boxing was illegal in New York State up until 1920. And Tex Rickard's popularizing of fighters as respected household names was a large reason for it being legalized in New York. Boxing owes Tex Rickard a depth that cannot be expressed. There's Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney. Boxing owes such regard a depth that cannot be expressed in words. He is truly one of the greats. Despite not having been a fighter, if anyone deserves the title of most influential person in boxing history, you can make a very strong argument for it to be Tex Rickard. Okay, so now let's take a look at Tex and the other that make up the 50 of the most influential people in boxing history. We're going to go from 50 to number 1. From 50 to 1, okay? Okay, at number 50, the Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes. The Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes. Excuse me for 1 minute. I had to wet my whistle. Just a little brief talk on him. I'm not trying to bore y'all. Larry Holmes at number 50. Now, Holmes had the unenviable task of following Muhammad Ali as heavyweight champion, but he was a brilliant fighter who soon became regarded as one of history's best big men. Larry Holmes. At number 49 is Chris Dundee. Yeah, famous last name. That ain't Angelo. That's Chris. Looks like Angelo, don't it? Chris Dundee. He was a trainer. Yeah, Larry Holmes was a boxer. Okay. Chris Dundee was a trainer / promoter. Chris Dundee, the brother of legendary trainer Angelo Dundee, is best known for being the proprietor of Miami's 5th Street Gym, where Cassius Clay, later to become Muhammad Ali, prepared early in his career. Dundee also was among the tutors of eventual Hall of Fame matchmaker Bruce Trampler. Okay. Number 48. Whitey Bimstein, trainer. Whitey Bimstein was a trainer. Okay. Now, Bimstein partnered with Ray Arcel to train many of the elite fighters of the middle of the 20th century, including Benny Leonard, Gene Tunney, and Rocky Graziano. Bimstein worked for James J. Braddock in the famous Cinderella Man win over Max Baer. You know, they made that into a movie. But in that actual fight, Bimstein was James J. Braddock's trainer. Okay? These are 50 of the most influential figures in boxing history today. Number 47, A.J. Liebling, journalist, a magnificent writer. Liebling covered boxing expertly for the New Yorker magazine. His work is among the best ever reporting done on boxing. Some of the best ever work reporting done on boxing was by A.J. Liebling. Okay? Number 46, Jose Sulaiman. There he is in the middle with Don King and Mike Tyson. That's Mauricio's father. Yeah, he ran the WBC up until his death. Then Mauricio took over. The Jose Sulaiman, sanctioning body president. The sanctioning bodies have had an undeniable impact on modern boxing. And Jose Sulaiman presided over the World Boxing Council for nearly 35 years. And he was hardly universally admired in the sport of boxing, but the WBC championship is the most well-known title belt in the world. Okay? Well, Jose, I get ready to say Mauricio Sulaiman. Jose Sulaiman. Number 40, Jose was 46. 45 is Arthur Mercante. Senior referee. Arthur Mercante, senior referee. Arguably the best referee ever. Mercante is renowned as the third man in the ring for the March 8, 1971 fight of the century between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Mercante worked 145 world title fights, most of them in an era when there was just 8 weight classes and 1 champion per class. The legendary Arthur Mercante, referee. Now, we come to talking about legendary, number 45, Ray Arcel, trainer. Ray Arcel, trainer. Arcel ranks among the greatest trainers in boxing history and helped mold the careers of Roberto Duran as well as dozens of others. He trained two of the greatest lightweights ever, Benny Lennon in the 20s and Roberto Duran in the 80s. Just think about that. Benny Lennon in the 20s, Roberto Duran in the 80s. And every decade between 1920 and 1980, this man had at least one world champion in each of them. Some decades, multiple. From 1920 to 1980, he had at least one world champion in every decade. The legendary Ray Arcel. Wow. And that's legendary there. Okay. Number 43. Paul Gallico, sports writer. Paul was a sports writer. Gallico was one of the finest sports writers of his era and was at his peak in the 1920s when boxing was neck and neck with baseball. It was baseball and boxing was tops as the most popular sports in America, boxing and baseball. Gallico is also the founder of the Golden Glove, along with Arch Ward of the Chicago Tribune. Gallico founded he was based in New York. You know, the Golden Gloves was first in Chicago and New York. So Gallico was one of the founders of the Golden Glove, still the gold standard for amateur boxing. Okay. Paul Gallico, sports writer. Okay, we down to number 42. Is because a lot of these significant figures aren't just boxers, okay? Irving Rudd, publicist. Irving Rudd, publicist. Perhaps the sport's most creative and inventive publicist, Rudd worked with stars such as Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard, and most all of the major figures of the game in between. So he had a long career. He worked with Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard, okay? So the man had to be good if he had longevity. Murray Goodman, journalist. Come on, Murray Goodman. Uh-oh. Yeah, something is getting. Oh, I thought something was getting ready to happen. I've been having problems with my Wi-Fi lately. I gotta call these people, man. Paying too much money for this thing to keep cutting off like that. Cut off on me Friday, remember? Well, it is Murray. Murray Goodman, journalist. Journalist/publicist. Now, Goodman, whose son Bobby is also a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame, was a creative publicist whose work helped boost the careers of such greats as Sugar Ray Robinson, Henry Armstrong, Rocky Marciano, and Muhammad Ali. Okay? Very good one. Melanin Queen 27 is in the building. Salute Melanin Queen. We are going over 50 of the most significant figures in boxing history today. We are right at number 40. Number 40. And not just boxers. We got writers, trainers, sanctioning body presidents, promoters. That's some of the most significant people the sport has seen in its history. Okay, number 40. Smoking Joe Frazier, boxer. Smoking Joe Frazier. Now, the Smoking Joe Frazier was the B-side of boxing's greatest rivalry. Frazier not only defeated Muhammad Ali in their epic 1971 fight, but he pushed Ali to perhaps his limits during the Thriller in Manila, a sensational fight in the Philippines that remains one of the greatest in the sport's history. Smoking Joe Frazier. Like Howard Cosell used to say, Smoking Joe Frazier. Number 39, King Carlos Monzon, boxer. King Carlos Monzon, boxer. Now, he had quite a career out of the ring. Monzon is a former middleweight champion who at the time of his retirement held the record for most consecutive successful title defenses with 14, subsequently broken since then. Yeah, him and Marvin Hagler. From 1970 to 1987, either Carlos Monzon or Marvin Hagler was the undisputed middleweight champion for all of those years except for 3. They ran middleweight. King Carlos Monzon and Marvin Hagler. Now, their careers overlapped, but King Carlos was at the end and Hagler was at the beginning. So a fight between them would have meant absolutely nothing. So, they never fought because it wouldn't have meant anything. One was old, one was young. The 2 of the greatest middleweights ever. Number 38, the Will o' the Wisp, Willie Pep. Willie Pep. There's Willie on the left, fighting Sandy Sadler, his biggest rival. He had 4 fights. Willie Pep, boxer. Now, many boxers have evoked comparisons to Pep over the years for their defensive skills, but few have matched it, okay? Few have matched it. The Will o' the Wisp, Willie Pep. And he died from pugilistic dementia. So, I talked about a few weeks ago, every boxer suffers brain damage. Some not even noticeable in them, but every boxer suffers brain damage. And being a good defensive fighter don't excuse you because they say you get brain damage quicker in sparring than you do in the regular fights. And this man, Willie Pep, arguably the greatest defensive fighter of all time, died from pugilistic dementia, okay? So every fighter suffers from brain damage. Yeah, how good your defense is. Number 37, the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya. Some of the 50 most influential figures in boxing history today. Ooh, the lights though. Looking good. Man. Some of them people in my studio audience must be hitting the light today. But the lights are looking good. Appreciate y'all 1,000%. Hit the like, yo. Okay. Al Booger in the building. I was talking to my studio audience. I know all of y'all hit it. What's up, Al Booger? We talking about 50 of the most influential figures in boxing history today. We salute AB in the building. Okay. Did I talk about the Golden Boy? No. The Golden Boy is 37, Oscar De La Hoya, boxer / promoter. De La Hoya is not only one of the greatest boxers of his era, an Olympic gold medalist, and a 6th division professional world champion, but he's also an elite promoter. In 2001, De La Hoya founded Golden Boy Promotions and has subsequently successfully maintained a high-level promotional company since then, up to this day, today, March 31st, 2025. Golden Boy is still going, rolling along. Yeah, Oscar De La Hoya. Number 37. At number 36, the great Gene Tunney. There's Gene. Gene Tunney, boxer. Now, Tunney twice defeated Jack Dempsey in heavyweight title fights that drew more than 100,000 fans to each of them, right? In one of their 2 fights, he got up from the canvas in the famous long count fight. Yeah, the long count fight. I told y'all about that. When Jack Dempsey wouldn't go to the neutral corner, but he wasn't trying to throw the fight or anything. That was the first fight they ever used the neutral corner. So he probably wasn't used to it. Well, he wasn't used to it because you could stand right there by the referee before that fight while he counted. So Jack Dempsey probably wasn't, the referee was telling him to go to the, he probably knew what the referee was talking about. That was the first fight they used the neutral corner. So they called the long count fight because Gene Tunney got like 15 seconds on the mat. They was trying to get Dempsey to go to the neutral corner. So that's why it's called the long count fight. Okay. Number 35, Max Schmeling. Famous for his 2 fights with Joe Louis. Beat Joe Louis in one of them. Max saw something in their first fight in 36. He did his homework. He noticed that every time Joe Louis threw a jab, when he was bringing it back, he carried it low on the way back, right? Going back into his stance. So Gene noticed that, and he caught him in the fight. He hurt him early, and Joe never recovered. And Gene Max. I'm still thinking about Gene Tunney, but Max Schmeling noticed that Joe Louis, every time he threw a jab, he dropped his jab hand low after he threw it. So Max Schmeling caught him early in the fight and hurt Joe Louis badly, and Joe never recovered, and Max knocked him out. But we know what happened in the second fight. Max Schmeling went to the hospital. The fight only lasted 2 minutes, but he spent 2 months in the hospital. That's how much damage Joe Louis did to him. But Max Schmeling at number 35, boxer. Schmeling was seen as the symbol of Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany when he met Joe Louis for the heavyweight title in 1938 in their second fight. But Schmeling was known as a class act who did not support the Nazis. As a matter of fact, he saved 2 Jewish children from the Nazis, 2 Jewish teenagers from the Nazis, hit them out and everything during that time, yeah. But you know, a lot of people during the second fight, a lot of Americans and everything, you know, they related Schmeling to the Nazi cause and hated on him and everything. But no, he wasn't. And Hitler forced him to bring a Nazi publicist with him to New York to the fight. But no, he never supported the Nazis, Max Schmeling. And one of the most influential figures in boxing history because of those 2 fights with Joe Louis. Mm-hmm. The second fight with Joe Louis was probably about one of the most iconic fights ever. Now, iconic fight don't have to be a good competitive fight. It's just iconic, you know, depending on the time and what's going on around it, you know, the fighters in it. Some fights are iconic before they even happen, right? Like that one was a 2-minute beatdown, but it's one of the most iconic fights ever. At number 34, the Mongoose / Old Mongoose. He fought so long, he had to change his name from the Mongoose to the Old Mongoose. Archie Moore, boxer. Archie Moore. Now, Moore was a pro for 16 years before he got his first shot at a world title. He won the light heavyweight title in 1952 at age 39 and held it nearly 10 years until 1962. When Archie got that title, he said, I'm not giving this up because I'll probably never get another shot at it. You know, it took me so long to get this first shot. So he held it almost 10 years. The Mongoose, Archie Moore. Number 33, Ed Schuyler, journalist. Like I was saying, all the influential figures are not fighters. This thing keeps scaring me when it won't change. Because, I went backwards. There's Ed Schuyler, journalist. There's Ed. Now, Schuyler was the boxing writer for the Associated Press for more than 10 years. And he delivered tightly written result pieces and provocative feature stories consistently. 10 years for the Associated Press. Okay? One of the biggest publications out there. Right? He was the boxing writer for them for 10 years. Ed Schuyler. Okay. Excuse me for 1 second, please. I guess that's good enough. Okay, number 32. Bruce Trampler, matchmaker. That's the Godfather's boy there. Bruce Trampler. Matchmaker. Trampler has been responsible for helping to keep Top Rank as one of boxing's leading promotional entities. He's responsible in large part for building the careers of Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Kelly Pavlik, and Miguel Cotto, among many others. Bob Arum himself said he never makes a move without consulting Bruce Trampler first. That's what the Bob father said. He don't make no moves without consulting Bruce Trampler, his matchmaker. Okay. Number 31. This is a top 50, some of the top 50 figures in most influential figures in boxing history. Crush, the legend, in the building. What's up, Crush, the legend? We are talking about 50 of the most influential figures in boxing history today. We are at number 31 now, okay? And coming in at number 31 is Big George Foreman. Big G left us last week. We did a little thing on him last Tuesday to honor Big George's life and career. Big George had a great career in life, though. Big George Foreman, boxer / broadcaster. Now, Foreman won world championships 22 years apart, becoming in 1995 at age 45, the oldest man to win a title in boxing history at that time, since broken. But he's still the oldest heavyweight champion ever. Foreman is one of the biggest punchers in boxing history and later became a popular member of HBO's commentary team. Yeah, very good commentator, because Big George called it like it was. Big George wasn't taking no talking points. Big George called what was happening in the ring. Okay, he couldn't have worked for ESPN because he would have got fired like Andre Ward did. Because Andre wasn't trying to go with them talking points. Big George didn't do that either. Big George called it like what was happening in the ring. Okay. Big George Foreman, number 31. At number 30, Damon Runyon, journalist. Damon was a journalist. Okay. Damon Runyon was a sports columnist in New York. Runyon wrote with authority on boxing for more than 30 years and is the man who tagged James J. Braddock as the Cinderella Man. He gave him that name, the Cinderella Man. Good movie and everything. Now this next one, love him or hate him, he was good at what he did. Larry Merchant, broadcaster / journalist. Love him or hate him, he was good at what he did. That looked like the time where Floyd cussed his butt out. Told him, you don't know shit about boxing. Then Larry Merchant said, I was 20 years younger, I would kick your ass. You would get your ass kicked. That's what would happen. The Larry Merchant, broadcaster / journalist. Merchant is best known as the outspoken color analyst on HBO's boxing broadcast, but he was also one of the best sports columnists of his day and wrote eloquently on boxing. He also, I got to give him credit, he called what was happening in the ring. He wasn't biased and all that. He didn't like Floyd too much or Sonny Liston, but he did pretty much call what was happening. Yeah, Larry Merchant did. Not like, he couldn't have worked for ESPN either. Okay, number 28, Bert Sugar. Bert Sugar, author / journalist / historian. Bert Sugar. Yeah. Author, journalist, historian. Now, Bert Sugar has authored numerous books on boxing. He was the editor of Ring Magazine, and he became an in-demand historian. Yep, Bert Sugar, big-time historian. Mm-hmm. If I could get to near his status as a historian, I'd be happy. Because this man knew boxing, man, inside out. You know, he knew the facts. He knew a lot of these boxers personally, Bert Sugar. This is the guy that used to be with Blue Blood, Kurt Sugar. His name was Curtis something, and his nickname was Kurt Sugar. He passed away. Remember Kurt Sugar, y'all? Yeah, he used to be on Blue Blood all the time. Yeah, he knew his shit too. Kurt Sugar. Excuse my French, but yeah. Okay, at number 27, we winding down. Julio Cesar Chavez, we just did him Friday, right? He's one of the most influential figures in boxing history. Julio Cesar, boxer, senior. He's one of the 4 people that father-child champions. I got Floyd and Tracy Patterson, Muhammad and Layla Ali, Leon and Corey Spinks, and Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. and Jr. I can't think of any more father and their child being champions in boxing. I just can't think of those 4. JCC's one of them. But he was the biggest star from boxing-rich Mexico. Chavez was a mainstay on big cards in the late 1980s and throughout the 1990s, early 2000s too. Winding down then though. He won world titles at 3 weight classes and fought all the best of his era. Yeah. He definitely got a great resume. Mm-hmm. It seemed like he was fighting every week, man. Julio Cesar Chavez. Damn. Every time you turn around, you say, didn't he fight last Saturday? Remember Jay still out there? Like Julio Cesar Chavez on this guy. Didn't he fight last Saturday? Damn. It sure seemed like it. But he had 107 fights. That was unheard of in the era he fought in. It was common back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50, around in there. But in the 80s, 90s, wasn't nobody fighting no 115 times. He won 107, but he had 115 fights. That was unheard of in his era. Julio Cesar Chavez. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty gritty now. At number 26, the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran, boxer. Yeah, he was up against Hagler. Arguably the greatest lightweight ever, Duran went on to be a dominant force as high as middleweight. The Hands of Stone. Well, yeah, I think he went all the way up to light heavyweight, but he wasn't dominant. But he was dominant all the way up to middle, almost beat Hagler. He was leading on all 3 cards after 13 rounds. Hagler needed 14 and 15. He got him, but he needed both of them. Yeah. I think Duran surprised Hagler early because Duran came out boxing. Hagler was expecting a brawl. And Duran came out there boxing and got a lot of those early rounds because he surprised Hagler. Mm-hmm. But Hagler came back. He needed 14 and 15, and he got them. At number 25, the Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao. At number 25. One of the elite boxers whose passionate agent following helped make him an international superstar, an attraction for non-traditional boxing media, such as CNN, Time Magazine, and GQ. Your Manny was definitely a crossover star. Yes, he was. Mm-hmm. Yes. All the casuals knew Manny. Yeah, that's why him and Floyd Mayweather Jr., both of them two, is the biggest pay-per-view in history. It's going to take a lot to break that, too. A lot. I think Benavidez and Canelo might do it if they ever fight, though. Number 24, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. There's the Hitman and Sugar Ray. 1. I remember Sugar Ray had on them red, white, and blue shorts in 2. Hearns had Sugar Ray beat and got caught in the 13th round and never recovered. And then Sugar Ray came out of the corner like a rocket in round 14 and got Hearns up out of there. And in the second fight, Sugar Ray finally admitted that Hearns won that fight. But Sugar Ray always wanted, because Hearns always said after the first fight that it shouldn't have been stopped. He wasn't ready to go, and the referee shouldn't have stopped. And Sugar Ray always said he wouldn't admit that he lost that fight because Hearns wouldn't admit the first fight should have been stopped, right? But Hearns never admitted the first fight should have been stopped, but Sugar Ray did admit. I heard him say it, that Hearns won the second fight. I heard him tell him on Mike Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. Mike had Sugar Ray Hearns and Sugar Shane Mosley on there one day, and Sugar Ray told Hearns that he won it. But Hearns never admitted that he was ready to go in that first fight. He always said to this day that it shouldn't have been stopped. But Thomas Hearns, boxer. Hearns was one of the most exciting fighters ever and eagerly took on all comers. Yes, he did. The Hitman. And at number 23, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. There's him and Sugar Ray again. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Boxer. The Hagler was so tough, it took years for him to get a title shot. Yeah, he was one of the most ducked fighters ever. He became one of the great middleweights of all time and was the winner in arguably the best 3-round fight in boxing history when he knocked out Thomas Hearns in 1985. 3-round fight of the year. 3-round fight of the year when they had the great fight. 15-round fight between Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks that same year. Great battle. That 3-round fight between Hagler and Hearns won fight of the year over that. Yes, it did, man. And round 1 was round of the year. Yeah, that was a great fight between them two. And remember what I said, Hagler and King Carlos Monzon between 1970 and 1987. One of them two was undisputed champion of the middleweight division for all but 3 of those years. 17 years. One of them two ruled middleweight, 2 great champions. Now, like I said, the careers overlapped, but Hagler was young at the beginning and Monzon was at the end. So a fight between them would have meant absolutely nothing. And they never fought. Yeah, would have been a waste of time. You had one old champion on the way out and one young guy coming in. So what would a fight have meant? Nothing. Yeah. But they do it nowadays, these prospects fighting these world champions and being made to look bad too. Cus D'Amato, trainer at number 22. Let the prospects be prospects. Right? Don't rush them. The time will come. There's Cus D'Amato, and his best pupil, Mike Tyson on Mike. Mike Rim in the building. And Funk or Die is back. I love that name, Funk or Die, baby. Funk or Die. And I've been on the mothership, okay? And Mike Rim in the building too. They made me get off before they went up into space, but I was on there, okay? Seen Dr. Funkenstein and all of them. But let's get back to this. Let's salute Funk or Die and Mike Rim. We're talking about Cus D'Amato now. He's number 22 on the 50 most influential figures of boxing history. Now, Cus D'Amato is the man who discovered Mike Tyson and built him into a fearsome title contender. He was a strategic genius, and Muhammad Ali relied on his advice to defeat George Foreman in 1974. Yeah, Cus was an advisor to Ali going into that fight, yeah. D'Amato also helped build Floyd Patterson and Jose Torres in the championship fighters. Yeah, Floyd was one of his first pupils. Floyd Patterson. Yeah, Bruce Gass needed to be in here today. Bruce Gass in here? No, I don't think so. He would have saluted this up. No. I know he would have loved to see this one. Okay. Number 21. The great Jake LaMotta. Probably, arguably the best chin in boxing history. Jake LaMotta. You say, Canelo got one of them Jake LaMotta chins. That's how good Jake LaMotta's chin was. Boxing. LaMotta probably had the best chin in boxing history. He also has a win over Sugar Ray Robinson when Robinson was in his prime. A testament to his skill. He was the only one to beat Sugar Ray Robinson in the 40s. Was that man right there on the screen, Jake LaMotta. Only one to beat him in that decade. Jake was also the subject of the Academy Award-winning movie, Raging Bull. Okay? Raging Bull. Jake LaMotta. Number 20, the legendary Eddie Futch, trainer. Eddie Futch. Eddie Futch is arguably boxing's greatest trainer ever, and he trained champions such as Joe Frazier, Larry Holmes, Alexis Arguello, and Riddick Bowe, among others. He worked into his late 80s, and I told you, Muhammad Ali had 5 losses. 4 of those losses were to fighters trained by Eddie Futch. Eddie Futch was in the other opposite corner for 4 of Muhammad Ali's 5 losses, okay? At number 19, we're getting down to the big boys now. Angelo Dundee. Angelo Dundee. That's him and Sugar Ray. I think that's the Hearns fight. When he was telling him, you blowing it, son. Kid, you blowing it. See? Yeah. You can tell by that left eye. That is the Hearns fight. Yeah, you can tell by that eye. Yeah. Hearns was the one that detached that retina. Angelo Dundee was the primary trainer for Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. And he was a popular personality who worked tirelessly to promote the fight game. He also trained George Foreman during Foreman's second career when he came back to boxing. Yeah, when Foreman won that title for the second time, 22 years after the first one, Angelo Dundee was in his corner. Isn't that something? Angelo Dundee was in the corner of a corner when he lost the title 20 years earlier in Ali's corner. And when he won it back, he was in Foreman's corner. Wow. That's crazy. Number 18, Mike Jacobs, promoter. Mike Jacobs. Yeah, Ray Mercer had a great chin too, Mike Rim. Yeah, yes he did. Ray had a great chin. Yeah, good point, Mike. Yeah, Ray Mercer. Mike Jacobs, promoter. Now, Jacobs was the sport's dominant promoter in the 1930s and 1940s and controlled the New York boxing scene. He promoted a lot of Joe Louis's fights. He promoted, just read what you got, Cass. He promoted many of Joe Louis's fights, including Louis's memorable match with Billy Conn in 1941. That's when he was losing in the 12th round. Joe Louis needed a knockout. All Conn had to do was keep boxing, but then he came out there, he got cocky. Came out there and wanted to go toe-to-toe with Joe Louis in the 13th round and got knocked out right away, immediately. Yeah. Just think how history would have changed. We wouldn't have had that 12-year reign of Joe Louis. We wouldn't have had those 25 straight title defenses. But Billy Conn got cocky. Yeah. Had the fight won. All he had to do was make it to the 15th round to the cards. Joe Louis needed a knockout. I know Joe Louis said, what is this fool doing when he came out there in round 13 and stood right in front of him toe-to-toe? Joe Louis probably was about to start watering, like, damn. That tell me that fight probably was fixed. Mm-hmm. Don Dunphy, broadcast, is next. Oh, Lord, I'm running my mouth, and now I don't know where I'm at on the picture. Oh, my. Who is that? Damn. All I got to do is go back to Angelo Dundee. I'm sorry, y'all. There's Angelo Dundee. After Angelo Dundee was Mike Jacobs. We did Mike Jacobs, right? There's Mike Jacobs. In the middle. Yeah, Don Dunphy. Broadcaster is next. Don Dunphy, broadcaster. There's Don on the right, him and Ali. Don Dunphy, broadcaster at number 17. For decades, Dunphy was the quintessential boxing play-by-play man. He called fight for years on radio before moving to television and becoming a star in that medium as well. Number 16, 50 most influential figures in boxing history. Number 16, Iron Mike Tyson. Iron Mike Tyson. Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history when he won the title at just 20 years old in 1986. It became far and away the biggest star in the sport, okay? He still holds the record as the youngest heavyweight champion ever to this day. Number 15, The Rock. Rocky Marciano, okay? And Susie Q. Marciano retired unbeaten as heavyweight champion. He had an exciting style and developed a passionate following. Yeah, he had that following because he had 43 out of his 49 wins was knockouts. Knocked out everybody he fought in championship fights. As Charles went the distance in the first fight, so Rocky gave him a rematch and knocked him out in the second fight. Didn't have to give him the rematch because Rocky was a champion in the A side. So after he beat him the first time, they could have been in forever, but Rocky said, oh no, I got to knock this man out. So he gave him a rematch and knocked him out. 87.7% knockout ratio. Right? Okay. Number 14, Ned Fleischer. You know what Ned did? Made him famous. Ned founded Ring Magazine in 1922. Ned Fleischer is Ned, the founder of Ring Magazine, journalist. Fleischer wasn't the best boxing writer, nor was he its best journalist, but he founded Ring Magazine in 1922, and for the rest of his life, until his death in 1972, Ring Magazine was boxing's foremost journalistic authority, and still is. Its influence faded somewhat in the latter part of the 20th century, but it still is a big part of the sport's history. Ring Magazine, that's the founder right there, Ned Fleischer. At 13, we have Teddy Brenner, matchmaker. Teddy is a matchmaker. I don't even miss anybody coming in. No. Oh, wow, the lights are looking great. Almost at 30. We get 30. Somebody will hit the bag 300 times and they'll hang out tomorrow morning. I don't know who. It ain't going to be me. But somebody will hit the bag. 3 more likes, 300 times and they'll hang out tomorrow. 13, Teddy Brenner, matchmaker. It ain't going to be me, though. Brenner became the sport's top matchmaker, always adhering to the maxim that he wouldn't make a match unless he'd be willing to buy a ticket to see it himself, okay? Would not make a match unless he'd be willing to buy a ticket to see him himself. He put together many of Ali's fights and is responsible for training Bruce Trampler, who himself would go on to be a Hall of Fame matchmaker, right? Trained Bruce Trampler, who was also on this list. Number 12, down to the top 10 almost, Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard. There's him and Hagler again. Thought I already said Sugar. No, he was on a couple other people's pictures. Sugar Ray Leonard, boxer. Now, Henry Armstrong popularized the concept of a boxer going to multiple weight divisions, going for multiple weight division titles. Let's start over. Henry Armstrong popularized the concept of a boxer going for multiple weight division titles, but Leonard perfected it. An Olympic gold medalist with a charismatic personality, Leonard won world titles at 147, 154, 160, 168, and 175, and was the biggest star in the sport after Ali retired. Leonard later went on to become a popular television analyst and was briefly a promoter, but his influence on the game clearly came from the fans he made in his numerous big fights against the likes of Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And number 11 is the great Henry Armstrong. need a drink of water real quick. Excuse me for one more. Appreciate y'all rocking with me today. Okay, Henry Armstrong, number 11. That's him on the left there. Yeah. Not the one on the way down. He's somebody on the way down, but Henry's the one that sent them on the way down. Henry on the left. What's going on in the chat? Nothing. Okay. Now, Henry Armstrong was considered by many to be the second best fighter ever. Now, you know the story. Y'all know the story. He once held the featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight titles simultaneously when there were only 8 weight divisions. And he almost had 4. It was a controversial draw. They said Henry won that one, so he would have had 4 titles when there was only 8 weight classes. Okay. Armstrong popularized the idea of a fighter chasing titles in multiple divisions. Okay, top 10 most influential figures. Well, 10 of the most influential figures in boxing history. Number 10, Howard Cosell. Howard Cosell, broadcaster. Howard Cosell was the voice of boxing for ABC and was closely tied with Muhammad Ali's career, covering not only his fights, but also his battles to avoid induction into the armed forces during the Vietnam War. Now, it wasn't long before Cosell's presence at ringside meant a major fight was happening. Yeah, if Howard Cosell was calling, it was huge. It was huge. Okay? You turn it on and see Howard, it was a huge fight going on. Howard Cosell. Probably about the best broadcaster ever. Anybody never got to see him live do a fight, like on TV, actually happening, missed the treat, man. Because Howard could go. Howard could go. Yeah. Number 9, Seth Abraham. He was also a television programmer. Seth was a television programmer. Okay. HBO began airing boxing in 1973, 5 years before Abraham joined the network. But it was Abraham whose deft touch in signing matches and his genius for putting together broadcast teams who made HBO a major player in the sport of boxing. Seth Abraham, yeah. At number 8, I was just checking the time. At number 8, Jack Johnson. Yeah, Jack Johnson makes the top 10 of the most influential of all time. Johnson is the boxer who opened the door in many ways for the melanated American fighters to compete, right? He defeated James J. Jeffries in what was the first fight of the century. In the early part of the 20th century, he was virtually unbeatable, but his career was harmed by racism, and he was forced to flee to Europe. Yeah. He was charged with, never mind. But yeah, he was forced to flee to Europe, okay. Number 7, Jack Dempsey. We don't need to get into all that. Not important. Jack Dempsey, number 7. Here's Jack Dempsey. Number 7. The heavyweight champion who was the first boxer to consistently attract $1 million plus gates. He became an icon in the sport whose influence lasted for decades past his retirement. Yeah, Jack Dempsey was responsible for boxing becoming as popular as it was in the 1920s. It was right there running neck and neck with baseball, right? Baseball and then boxing as far as popularity, then horse racing. Because the NFL only had like 6 teams then, something like that. Not many. And the NHL was mostly in Canada. The NHL didn't have too many teams in the United States. It was baseball and boxing. Donnie Williams in the building. What's up, Donnie? How are you today? Yeah, we down to the top, like 5 or 6 of some of the most influential figures in boxing history. Salute Donnie Williams. Matter of fact, we're at number 6. And 6 is Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson, number 6. While many boxing fans consider Ali the greatest fighter ever, Ali always considered Sugar Ray Robinson as the greatest. Ali patterned his style in and out of the ring after Sugar Ray Robinson. Robinson was voted the greatest boxer, the greatest welterweight, and the greatest middleweight of the 20th century by the Associated Press. Okay? Robinson was a true showman and became popular outside of just the boxing crowd. Yeah. He became popular outside of boxing. Now, top 5. Number 5, Don King. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Don King and the Bob Father after, because we got some time. Don King, promoter. Don King, a former numbers runner in Cleveland, is a natural showman who promoted boxing like a carnival huckster. King, along with Bob Arum, was a dominant promoter of the second half of the 20th century and had promoted 12 of the top 20 largest grossing fights in history at one time. So if King is 5, you know who number 4 is. The Bob Father himself, Bob Arum. Bob Arum, promoter. Now, the founder of Top Rank, Arum has been one of, if not the top promoter in boxing for nearly 50 years. He promoted many of the sport's superstars, including Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, George Foreman, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather Jr., and Roberto Duran. He was the first promoter to regularly utilize boxing on cable television with his Top Rank boxing series on ESPN. And in later years, Arum recognized the extraordinary interest in the sport among Hispanic Americans and created a series to cater to them. Yeah, the Bob Father. Yeah. And back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, almost everybody at one time or another was promoted by Don King or Bob Arum. Almost everybody, because they ran boxing, So if you wanted to fight a champion or something, you had to go through one of them. And number 3, of course, is Tex Rickard. Tex Rickard is 3. Is Tex Rickard, promoter. Now, Rickard built Madison Square Garden in New York and promoted many fights at the venue, which for decades would host the majority of the country's major fights. He promoted many Jack Dempsey fights in the 1920s. They had gates in excess of $1 million, figures that would be good even today. He was promoting $1 million fights back in the 20s. He even had a $2 million gate back in the 20s, okay? That would be good even today, right? This was in the 1920s. Number 2, the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis. Number 2, most significant figure in boxing history. The Brown Bomber, Joe Louis. Now, Louis was an American hero at a time when melanated Americans were decades away from achieving civil rights. The legendary sports writer Jimmy Cannon once wrote about Louis. Joe Louis is a credit to his race, the human race. His 1938 victory over Max Schmeling did wonders for national morale in the United States. And number 1, of course, the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, boxer, as if y'all didn't know. Muhammad Ali, broadcaster, no boxer. Now, Ali wasn't the greatest fighter who ever stepped into the ring, but he was among the best, and no one before or since has had the impact he's had on the sport of boxing. His style, with his hands at his side, circling the ring and flicking out jabs, has influenced generations of fighters. His ability to promote an event and give people a reason to watch has been unmatched, before or since. Muhammad Ali. Okay, Don, let's talk about Don King for a while. Okay. Don King for a minute. Now, Don King is a controversial figure, and we're talking about why a lot of fighters knew Don King cheated fighters and sued by many fighters, but why did a lot of fighters still sign with him? Let's talk about it. Now, Don King is a controversial figure in boxing, known for both his promotional success and his questionable practices, right? Now, several reasons explain why many boxers continue to work with Don King despite allegations of unethical behavior. Number one, success and exposure. King has promoted some of the biggest fights in boxing history, including fights featuring legends like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and Evander Holyfield. Boxers often seek the visibility and financial opportunities that come with being promoted by a well-known figure like Don King. Number two, financial incentives. King has been able to secure lucrative deals for fighters, offering them significant purses that they might not have received elsewhere. For many boxers, the immediate financial rewards outweighed concerns about King's reputation. Okay. Number three, limited options. Limited options. Now, in a sport where promotional power can be concentrated in a few hands, some fighters may have felt they had no choice but to work with Don King or risk being sidelined in a competitive market. Number four, personal relationships. King often built personal relationships with fighters, which could lead to loyalty. His charisma and ability to market fighters could create a sense of trust, even if that trust was misplaced. Number five, complexity of contracts. Now, many boxers may not have fully understood the intricacies of their contracts or the potential for exploitation. This lack of understanding could lead them to sign agreements that were not in their best interest, right? And number six, cultural and historical context. Now, during the height of King's influence, boxing was a different landscape, and many fighters came from backgrounds where they were accustomed to navigating exploitative situations, right? Some may have felt that dealing with Don King was a necessary part of their careers. There's Don King and James Brown. That's at the 1974 Rumble in the Jungle. I told you they gave a concert that's 3 days before the fight, and headlining the event was the Godfather of Soul himself, James Brown. Had a lot of the big names of the day: B.B. King, the Crusaders, the Spinners. Oh yeah, was an event. Your turkey out of sheet could take some notes from Don King or the Godfather. Now, despite these reasons, many boxers have also come forward with stories of exploitation and mistreatment, leading to a complex legacy that reflects both the allure and the risks of working with a figure like Don King. Now, how did Don King's promotional style impact the boxing industry overall? Now, King's promotional style significantly impacted the boxing industry in several ways. Marketability of fighters. King was a pioneer in promoting fighters as larger-than-life personalities. He focused on the entertainment aspect of boxing, turning fights into major events with elaborate storylines, press conferences, and promotional tours. Like I was saying, that right there, he did that 3-day show before the Ali Forum, before the Rumble in the Jungle, with James Brown headlining the event, 1974. It still took a pretty penny to get James Brown to perform, but Don King got it. Now, this helped elevate boxers to celebrity status, attracting broader audiences. Pay-per-view revolution. King played a crucial role in the rise of pay-per-view events in boxing by promoting high-profile fights and creating a buzz around them. King helped to establish pay-per-view as a lucrative revenue stream for boxing. Also, diverse matchups. King's willingness to promote fights between diverse opponents and from different backgrounds helped to create exciting matchups that appealed to various demographics. Broadening the sport's appeal. Influencing other promoters. King's success inspired other promoters to adapt similar marketing strategies. Okay? Emphasizing the importance of promotion in achieving success in boxing. His style has influenced how boxing is marketed and presented to audiences today. Overall, Don King's promotional style reshaped the boxing landscape, contributing to its growth while also sparking important conversations about the ethics and practices within the industry. Okay, I got another good little piece for you. There's the Bob Father right there. Right? There's the Bob Father. Now, I want to ask you this. Will boxing be popular again once Bob Arum finally checks into a nursing home? No. The problems in boxing go way beyond one old man. Plus, there are plenty of corrupt young men that will be happy to replace Bob, the Bob Father, and continue ruining the sport. Sure, Arum is corrupt, but so are other promoters. But they are not the main source of boxing's problems, not by a long shot. When the current corrupt people move on from boxing, they will be replaced by equally corrupt people who will only be interested in even in the top 10 of most popular sports. Okay? Not even in the top 10. No. Boxing is nowhere near as popular as it once was. Okay, Funkadai says, did you mention George Parnassus? No, I sure didn't, Funkadai. Never heard of him. Who is he, Funkadai? Let me write that down. George Parnassus. Okay, I'm gonna have to do something on him. That's the idea. Funkadai just gave me an idea. Let me write that down. George. Yeah, I told you, I'm learning too, man. Nobody knows everything. Anybody who thinks they knows everything is crazy. Okay? George P.A.R. I'm gonna find out about him. We might do something on George Wednesday. That's a show from the chat. Thank you, Funkadai. Yeah. You know, I like to do shows on Wednesday that I take out of the chat. I haven't had no suggestions lately, but there we go. George Pernarsis. Okay. I gotta look him up. Okay, yeah. Boxing is nowhere near as popular as it once was. When Jack Dempsey became the first undisputed heavyweight boxing champion, boxing was second most popular sport behind baseball. As of the start of the current decade, boxing was nowhere to be found in the top 10 of sports worldwide in viewership or popularity. Boxing was behind rugby, golf, table tennis, and volleyball. Boxing today is a pale shadow of what it was in past generations. The best don't fight the best consistently enough. The best athletes are in other sports. There are hundreds of titles in boxing. It is sad how far the sweet science has fallen. Bob Arum isn't responsible for the rise of celebrity boxing, while good professional boxers can't even get paid. And the Barfathers' departure from the sport will not solve this situation. Okay? It ain't got nothing to do with the Barfathers. So when he go into that nursing home boxing, it's still going to be just like it is. Eddie Hearn talked about the fact that real championship contenders can't get the money for fights, while YouTubers who can't box their way out of a wet paper bag make millions. Hearn said, I don't blame Floyd Mayweather for taking advantage of the opportunity and making all the money he made in exhibitions. But this isn't the right way to attract new fans to the sport. If we don't make good fights, you're going to see more and more of this. We have to save boxing. Bob Arum is not responsible for multiple sanctioning bodies, multiple titles, endless sanctioning fees, and mega money at the cost of the long-term health of the sport. Now, back about 70 years ago, around the 50s, there were several sanctioning bodies, but there was generally only one champion. Now, this began to change in the early 1960s with the rise of the WBA and the WBC. Okay? The first real sign of dueling champions occurred in 1965 with the WBA withdrawing recognition from Muhammad Ali after he signed to rematch Sonny Liston. And the WBA then sanctioned a second world heavyweight champion. Ernie Terrell defeated Eddie Machen for the vacant WBA title. Now, Ali later regained the title by defeating Terrell. But multiple sanctioning bodies leave fans unsure as to who is champion of what. It used to be there were 8 undisputed champions. Now there are 17 weight classes and 5 title belts, including the ring championship, for a total of over 100 champions in the current 17 weight classes. Then they have super, interim, and regular champions. So that's another potential 100 champions. Okay? That's another potential 100 champions. Okay? That's over 200 champions compared to 8 in the days of Henry Armstrong, Joe Louis, and Sugar Ray Robinson. Each of the 4 universally accepted organizations, the WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO, and the IBO, which is attempting to make it 5 major sanctioning bodies. They charge sanctioning fees for each of their title fights. They also charge for the elimination fights. And for everything else, they can manage to screw a penny out of fighters for. They are all aligned in one form or another with certain promoters and certain television viewing options. None of them work well with the others, and none of the viewing platforms do either. Now, the horde of sanctioning organizations allows the horde of viewing platforms and promoters to con the public and bilk everyone out of more money, right? There's the other one there. WBO, they trying to become one of the main ones, but who knows what's going on in the sport. Okay? Greed and corruption is ruining boxing as a spectator sport. Now, the alphabet soup of sanctioning bodies hurt the sport in a major way. Who is the real champion? Who knows? Sanctioning body A says it's Smith. Sanctioning body B says it's Jones. Sanctioning body C says it's Brown. Sanctioning body D says it's J. Doe. Even sanctioning body E has a say. Nowadays, they're all champions. So no, the Bob father finally checking into a nursing home will not help boxing. Okay? Yeah, that's just the state of boxing now. It's too many champions. Too many sanctioning bodies. They need like all the 4 other sports: baseball, the major sports, baseball, football, hockey, and basketball all have a commissioner's office that controls the sport, makes the rules, gives out the penalties, does all that, man. That's what boxing needs. Like, for instance, boxing, you could go to New York and go by one set of rules, then go to Las Vegas and other stuff. You can do things in Vegas you can't do in New York. Baseball ain't like that. Suppose you go to New York and you get 3 outs, and then you go to California and play somebody, you get 4 outs. No, it's 3 outs. Or the NFL, 10 yards is the first down, right? Everywhere. It's not 10 yards in one state and then 8 yards in another state, but that's how boxing is. The rules change everywhere you go. And that allows them to be corrupt. Okay? Yeah. No other sport is like that but boxing. Every other sport is the same. Like the NBA, you got a 24-second clock. If you play in Canada, Florida, Washington, California, New York, it's a 24-second clock. You don't have a 24-second clock in New York, and then Texas, you got a 20-second clock. No, but that's how boxing is. You know, and the Bob father leaving is not going to change nothing. But that's how they want it, because it's easier to be corrupt. They're ruining the sport, but we still love it. But we can complain about it, right? We can still complain. Yeah, but I'm going to find out about this George, what's his name? George something. Parnassus. I don't even know how to pronounce it. But I'm going to find out. The likes are looking great. Just Do Boxing is up next. Let's see. Appreciate everybody that came through today. We got 2 more likes. We have 30. Jay Hardcore will hit the bag 300 times and I hang out. Well, no, it might not be Jay. I'm sorry. Somebody will hit the bag 300 times and I hang out tomorrow. I'll be in there to see it. Just 2 more likes. So, just 2 more. I'll get them later on today. I'll go outside and catch somebody walking past and say, let me see your phone. Yeah. I'm trying to see what's going on with Just Do Boxing today. You know, you get that balance, unbiased. Everybody gets to Just Do Boxing, right? And then 9 o'clock, we got the Rise Podcast. But 8 o'clock, we got BBO Boxing TV from the Sports Talk Network. Good podcast with the game. We got BBO, Crush the Legend, P-Free, Prize Fighter, Thomas Hill. Mm-hmm. Then 9 o'clock is the Rise Podcast. We're starting off another big week. Friday, we got Sugar Shane Mosley as the profile this week. Tennessee is the boxing in the state. Wednesday, we're going to talk about this guy that Funko Die put in the chat. George, Parnasuss. I don't know how to pronounce his name by Wednesday. Right? Let's see. I was trying to see what's happening on Just Do. And that's about it for today. But I appreciate everybody stopping through as usual. Good crowd today. Okay. My subscribers keep going up and down. I'm stuck on 891. Anybody got 109 people they know can subscribe so I can get to 1,000? Need 109 people to get to 1,000 subscribers. I don't think I see a thumbnail. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Just Do Boxing today. Oh, come on. I just had it. There we go. Today on Just Do Boxing, you're going to get the weekend fight recap. Bud says Spence, not Hall of Fame. Anyway, challenges Nakatani. Uh-oh. And Shakur say what? Today on Just Do Boxing. Coming up in a little over 5 minutes. Oh, man, that sounds interesting. Bud says Spence, not Hall of Famer. Oh, man. And don't forget, if you haven't hit the like on the way out. And then don't forget to hit Just Do Boxing's like on the way in. Out in, out in. My like on the way out. Just Do Boxing's like on the way in. Okay. The likes are looking great today. Oh, he promoted smaller fights in the 70s. Okay. We're going to find out about it Wednesday, Funko Die. Okay. The show Wednesday is brought to you by Funko Die. George Parnasuss. That ain't too hard to pronounce. That's it. Parnasuss. Yeah. Okay. We are going to find out about George on Wednesday. George Parnasuss. Brought to you by Funk or Die. That's right, Funk or Die. Okay, so we're gonna get ready to head over to Just Do Boxing now. Got a great show coming up for us. What that's about? Shakur say what? We gotta see what that's about. Anyway, challenge is Nakatani. Yeah, we've been waiting on that one. Yes. Nakatani's at 118. But you know, it's only 4 pounds. You know, 118, those classes, we got 4 weight classes down there, 10 pounds apart. You know, flyweight at 112, super flyweight at 115, bantamweight at 118, super bantamweight at 122. So, hey. That's no big jump. He'll probably be fighting at the normal weight he usually fight at, even if you go to 122. For what he rehydrate to, he probably rehydrate to the same thing, right? You know? Yeah. Oliveira versus Napolis. Okay. Oliveira versus Napolis. Okay, yeah. All right. Appreciate you, Funko Die. Okay. All right. Yeah, so that would be a great fight, man. Nakatani versus Inoue. Inoue done called him out. Inoue wants to smoke. Nakatani's down in the division with Takuma, his little brother. But we want Naoya. Okay? Nakatani probably whitewashed Takuma. Yeah. And then Nakatani should beat up Takuma. Then the monster would definitely fight it in him to take up for his little brother. But the monster calling him out anyway, so hey. That would be great if we could get that. Man. But anyway, let's get ready to move over to Just Do Boxing, getting ready to take over these JBT streets. Donnie Williams, Mike Rim, Funk or Die, Crush the Legend, Al Booger, Melanie Queen 27, Ace, the Boxing Menu Podcast Plus, Ken Saul Love 1, Thomas Hill, Jarrell Hattie, Hardcore Boxing News, Mike Mazik, Mike Rim, BVO Boxing TV, and Miss Cass. Appreciate everybody. We will be back tomorrow with another episode of Cass Sports. Because if it's Monday through Friday at 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Just Do Boxing straight ahead. This is Cass Sports. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a great afternoon. And I will see y'all around those JBT streets. I don't know if I'm off or not. Damn. Yeah, I went to leave. Look.